So I'll just quickly share my screen. I hope my screen is visible to everyone. Okay.
Yeah.
And I hope my voice is clear as well to everyone.
Yes.
All right, great. So good evening, everyone. So we have a mixture of students and parents here today is what I am to understand. So I will be addressing both of you. Samriddhi will be addressing both of our groups here. We just have a request from our end to you guys. Let's make this an interactive workshop. It's not going to be a lecture. It's not going to be just Samriddhi and me talking. Let's make this an interactive space and have a good a time here, and also take home some important tips from all of this. So the more we interact, the more we'll be able to connect to the topic and understand what's happening. So let's go ahead, and we have a good number of audience. So you can come into the chat box, you can come alive in the chat box, you can raise your hands, you can give us thumbs ups, use emoticons. There will be certain links sent to you for polls and quizzes during the workshop, so you can just click on them and give us your responses. You can unmute yourself and give us your responses if you're comfortable. So absolutely anything that you wish to do, as long as we can make this interactive. So having said that, let's go ahead. So today's topic that we are going to be addressing is managing exam anxiety. So basically, with a lot of exams around the corner, especially when we're looking the 9th and 10th grade, for the 10th grade especially, their board exams are coming up soon. And about December, November, December is when all the pre-boards are going to start and all the preparation is going to start. So keeping that in mind, we thought let's discuss this topic. Because this topic is such that each and every one of us go through this, regardless of our marks, regardless of whether we're toppers or not. Now, the only thing that differs is how much of this we go through. If it is just, basic jitters in our stomach, butterflies in our stomach, if it is just exam stress, or if it is full-blown exam anxiety. It can be anywhere across the range, but it is a fact that all of us do go through it. So let's see some of the ways that we can combat this so that our attention and our focus is completely on going and excelling in our exams. Having said that, let me just take you ahead quickly to who we are. So I will not take much time here, but I do want to just speak about our company here, Peak Mind. So basically, we are an initiative where our goal is to co-build a nation of emotionally empowered individuals. So we believe in emotional well-being, emotional upskilling, and emotional belonging. Using these trifecta, we hope to achieve emotional empowerment. Having said that, I just want to take you through who we are. So basically, we have a lot of alumni from IITs, TIS, and many reputed colleges across India. Our team of psychologists has clinical psychologists on board. We have counseling psychologists. We have PhD researchers on board. We have career coaches. We have nutritionalists. We have family therapists, organization therapists. So we have a range of workforce to ensure that we give the best product every time to whoever we address. In our short time in the industry, these are already some of the media attention that we have managed to garner. So especially during the COVID time, peak COVID time, we ran COVID services, we ran helplines and things like that for COVID patients, affected COVID patients. So during then, we did receive good media coverage, and these are some of the examples of the media coverage that we did receive during that time. Now, this is just a little bit about us from Peak Mind. Having said that, let us take this ahead. Samriddhi, I hand this over to you.
Thank you, Sharanya. All right. So we have spoken about why we are doing this topic with you today, why we felt that this was an important discussion to have. But before we get into the discussion, full-fledged talking about what is it, why is it, and everything, let's just do this quick activity together. What we want to know from you is what is the first thought or emotion that comes to your mind when you see the word examination. Now, you can unmute yourselves and talk to us, or you can populate our chat box with your responses. We are ready to hear from you, and let's make this an interactive beginning and set a very, very good tone for this whole discussion today. So, what is the first thought or emotion that comes to your mind when you see the word examination? We are waiting for your responses. Until the time our participants respond, Sharanya, what is the first thought that comes to your mind?
I think when I was in school, Samriddhi, if I were to hear the word exam, the first response was, oh no, not again. How many more? So but of course, as I did grow up, as I probably came to my master's level, during then an examination was I think I started viewing it as just a step for me to get ahead. So it's like, okay, I need to finish this so I can move ahead and start learning more and more. So I think that's where I am at with examinations right now. So audience members, let me throw this question again to you, like Samriddhi asked all of us. Probably you can unmute yourself and you can give us your responses, or come alive in the chat box and give us your responses there.
So we have
um,
some responses in the chat box. We have people sharing timetables, tension, marks, and the run to complete the syllabus. There's an adrenaline rush that happens, and studies are obviously associated with examination. Need to study and revise again and again. We have people saying marks, pressure is something that they relate to examination. Stress is something that is associated for them with the word examination. Brushing up the course, revisions, and the drill continues, right? And I believe to this point in time, Sharanya, you I think have matured in your understanding of examination, but to me, I think it will depend on the subject that I'm appearing for and the confidence that I have, and that might still give me certain jitters. We also have people sharing exams again. Oh no, sort of an emoji with that. We have time management that comes into play when we are talking about examination, and of course, living up to the expectations of others, of ourselves, that I think comes into play when we hear the term examination. Thank you so much for coming alive in the chat box for us, dear participants, and thank you for setting the tone. It makes me really happy, and makes both of us really happy to actually see our audiences and our participants responding to our questions. Gives us a little bit of insight into whom we are interacting with today. So let's move ahead and begin with the discussion. So all of that you guys have put in our chat box today, research also tells us that there are so many other things that people tend to relate with the term examination. It could be freezing or going blank during the test, worrying about forgetting material while studying, fear of failure, difficulty concentrating, putting off studying for tests until the last minute, and of course performing well at home but failing to do as well during the exam. Physical symptoms at times are also associated with the term examination, because as I said, certain subjects trigger certain sort of emotions amongst all of us, and I'm sure a lot of us can also relate to the post-its that we have for you on screen. What we really want to hear from you is that, if you could just pick up the serial number that you relate to and just share with us in the chat box, so we know that, here also we have people who, like us, are on the similar boat, are on the same boat, going towards that goal, but still, feeling those jitters and navigating that tough waters that we call exam. So I request our participants to, let us know what is it that they relate to on the screen. Do they actually relate to any of the factors mentioned here, any of the emotions mentioned here on screen? Just let us know a serial number. Okay. So we have responses. We have worrying about forgetting material. We have putting off studies until later, performing well at home, but not so well in the exams. Again, difficulty concentrating, physical symptoms is something that is coming up. Okay. Sehajpreet says that fourth is the most relatable for her. Difficulty concentrating. Divya is saying 2, Yuvraj 4, Chavi 2 and 4. Okay, we have a mixed bag of symptoms also. We have people picking up a lot of numbers. We have 2, 3, 4, 2, 4, 5. Okay, all right. So 2, 3, 4, 5 are something that are very, very pertinent
Yeah,
with our group today. And
true.
let you all in a very close kept secret. 2, 3, 4 is something that I also definitely go through. Sharanya, what about you?
I think 7 is very common for me, Samriti. I get upset stomach. I get upset stomach, especially when I was in school, math exam, and
Oh,
here comes upset stomach. So my
don't want
mother's
to
packed
remember
with lemon
that.
juices and all of that. I still remember that. Of course, thankfully, that's not there today. Because I don't have math in my life anymore. But when I did, it was definitely there.
Hard times, right?
Hard times, very hard times, definitely. All right.
So yes, so looking at all the factors and things that our audiences are also able to relate to today, let's get into further into the discussion and see how we can actually help them uh, manage that anxiety that a lot of us feel. And research says that about 85% of the students do face exam or test anxiety on regular basis. What we would want to know is, what according to you, dear students, parents, what according to you causes this anxiety? I am sharing a link in the chat box. I request you to click on that link and share your responses with us. Now, this is an anonymous way to respond, so you can talk to us through this, whatever it is on your mind, whatever you think are probably the causes of this exam anxiety. Just go ahead and share with us. And of course, there is no right and wrong answer, because, as we were mentioning, anxiety is something very, very individualistic, something that we feel at an individual level. I think somebody was typing and by chance clicked on
Yeah.
send.
So, audience, don't worry. It's completely anonymous. So, according to you, again, as Samriti perfectly explained, what are some of the causes of anxiety? So, we'll just have your responses up here.
Right.
So, we have quite a few responses,
Okay.
Samriti. I think we have syllabus being a cause, fear of the future, time management, as a lot of them, I think, spoke about even in the icebreaker. Competition among students, pressure and stress, time management again.
Right.
And we have some more here,
Yes.
including some emojis, marks, pressure to score good, not doing well, self worth, the
Right.
way previous marks has been,
Right.
basics, learning, root learning, that means basics, I'm assuming, what we learned at previous grades not sitting well, pressure by
Right.
parents. And we see a lot of stress and pressure on expectations, on performance, on scoring good and marks.
Right. We also
Syllabus also seems to be,
exactly.
another
Syllabus seems
common
to be
thing.
something that is actually a source of pressure and
Yeah.
anxiety. And I think that's a fair cause, because at times, we all feel so overwhelmed, because especially in board exams, everybody has to be on point with NCRT books. All the syllabus needs to be covered. Everything needs to be, from front and back. You should know everything. And the questions can be framed from anywhere. So, yes, pressure to perform, pressure of scoring good, completing the syllabus, I think is a fair point and fair assumption that can lead to anxiety. Thank you, dear participants. Thank you so much for coming forward with your responses and sharing with us what you think are the causes of anxiety. Let us also take you through some of the very well researched causes of anxiety and pretty common ones. One of the very common causes of anxiety is fear of failure. So, more often than not, what happens is we tend to assume that the result of an evaluation or an assessment actually reflects who we are as a person, and tend to assume that this will reflect our self-worth. This will just manifest into what people think of us and what people think that we know or we understand. And a lot of times that creates an unsaid pressure, and it's not something that Sharana, is my voice clear?
Yeah, yeah. It's perfectly clear, Samriddhi.
Okay, so
Do you have
probably,
any concern?
Harsh, there might be a network issue at your end, but I'll try speaking more clearly into the mic. All right. So I was talking about how fear of failure and fear of getting the marks that we get associated with our self-worth tends to put a lot of pressure on us and tends to trigger that anxiety that we feel before exams. Another aspect can be the unpreparedness that we feel. And this could be when we think that, a lot of syllabus has been left uncovered, or we think that we don't have the time to revise, which leads to us experiencing that debilitating anxiety even before we've entered the examination hall. And because of that fear or that feeling, we might end up missing out on the questions that we actually know the answer to. So the feeling of unpreparedness that we get is often a very common cause of exam anxiety. Another cause that leads to exam anxiety is poor testing history. Now, by this, we mean that probably in the past you've not been able to perform so well in a particular subject, and that leaves a memory, right? That leaves an impression. So, as Sharanya was saying, and for me also, maths has been a subject which I had a really poor testing history of. And time and again, when this exam would be, given on the timetable, I would have palpitations. I would start crying. I would start feeling so helpless that, there is no way out, and yet I have to prepare. And because of that anxiety, I would lose a lot of time, the preparation time that I had, because I had to spend that time to calm myself down first. And because if your thoughts are wary, you won't be able to concentrate, right? So a lot of times, because of the poor testing history, we end up missing out on the time that we can spend on studying. And because of that anxiety, we also tend to miss out on certain questions or make those unintended errors that lead us to lose out on marks, and therefore the cycle is repeated time and again, which makes it really really important for us to break that cycle of exam anxiety. And therefore, today, throughout our discussion, we will be discussing certain tricks and tips that you guys can use to overcome that anxiety that can really, really help you perform better. Let's move on and try and understand what are some of the strategies that you personally use when you're anxious about your exams. So now let me just, say it out loud that feeling anxiety before an exam is pretty normal. All of us feel that, and some bit of anxiety is actually needed also, because it lets us know that this is something that we value. How we score on a particular subject is something that we actually care about, and therefore we will be putting in our efforts. Anxiety becomes a difficulty for us when it stops us from giving our best shot, when it stops us from putting in our best effort to perform well. So that is where we need to combat it. A little bit of anxiety is perfectly fine. It's okay. I was pretty anxious coming here to talk to you guys. So I think that anxiety is also good. It is helping me. It is pushing me to be the best version of myself today with all of you. So, yes, so we would want to know what are some of the strategies that you personally use when you are anxious about an exam and that has worked for you in the past, right? So, again, the same rule applies. Either unmute yourself and talk to us or populate our chat box with your responses. Give it a thought and talk to us about the strategies that have been proven to be helpful for you. Taranya, what about you? What are the strategies that have helped you?
Samriddhi, so you know what? I think everybody will have a strategy because otherwise we wouldn't be progressing in the exams the way we, do progress. So I think not so much so, I don't remember thinking of it as anxiety management. I remember thinking, how do I just get through this? And I would kind of think of what I'll do after the exams. So I just sit and dream
Right.
of that. That okay, I'll go swimming. Summer holidays, I'll go swimming. I'll do something else. So I think I would just focus on the after exams and not the during exam or before exam.
I think you and I
We
are very
have a
similar in this.
responses here in the chat box. So we have Nidhi saying time management.
So managing her time and probably scheduling her day is what works for her. We also have Japne saying that revision of the main points in chapter is what really works for them. Listening to music to calm themselves, they, I think, are following what we do. They try and distract themselves. We also have, okay, so we have people sharing that they literally cry before their history exam, get panic attacks, go back to studying, and they also think that how these marks will affect their future. So I think we are on the same boat. With me, for you it's history, for me it was maths, and I used to follow the same cycle as you are. So yes, we also have people sharing meditation really works for them. Listening to music, taking a short break is something that really works for them. So I think it's very, very lovely that these are the certain strategies that have been working for them, and all the strategies are individualistic, right? What works for you might not work for me. Some are saying that talking to a friend really helps. Diary writing is something that really helps, and using positive affirmations, believing in yourself is something that really helps a lot of our students here. So yes, to each his own, as long as they are helping, they are working for you. And if you think there are certain things which might not be working for you, don't worry about it. That is why we are here for you today. We will be taking you through some of the strategies that you can probably replace the things that are not working so well for you with the ones that we discussed, and see how it works, right? So let's move on and look at the various strategies that you guys can be using before exams, during exams, and after exams as well. Sharanya, can I ask you to take this ahead?
Absolutely, Samriti. So thank you so much for engaging our audience so beautifully. So going ahead, let us see a couple of things. How do we manage exam anxiety in three phases, right? Because exam is a timeline. It's not just the day of the exam. There is a pre-exam and then there's a post-exam as well, right? In many instances, the exam doesn't end right there, right? There's again something to look forward to, especially when we're talking about board exams. If we're looking pre-boards, then there is board exams, the actual exam in itself, right? So we have this timeline here, the before exam, the during exam, and the after exam. So let's see what are some of the things we can do in each phase to ensure that the exam anxiety is well handled. Now, if I were to take you to the first point here, review previous exams. Now, here, this is all before exams. So let's say that a board exam is coming up, you've finished one pre-board or you've finished unit tests, you've finished a semester exam before. It can be any exam you have just finished previously, right? Now, it could be that, it could be even few things like class tests, unit tests. It could be any frame of reference which you have prior to the exam. Now, when we talk about this, there are a set of questions which I have put up on the screen, which you can ask yourself to get answers. Now, what are these answers useful for? Now, this will help you prepare for upcoming exams. Now, basically, we reflect on the errors we've made in our previous exams and find patterns of errors. Now, usually what happens when we're looking at a particular subject or when we're looking at a particular topic, especially things like math, physics, numericals in physics, inorganic chemistry, when we're looking at stoichiometry and things like that, there are certain patterns of errors we will tend to repeat. So it really helps to go back and look at how we performed in the previous exams. Now, you would have gotten the answer sheets back after correction. Your teachers would have spotted out where exactly you're going wrong. Or if you have done practice in your notebooks and again you're going wrong in some place. So you have a repository to find out where you are going wrong. So you can identify a pattern of your mistakes. Now, once you've noticed patterns, you can start developing strategies to address them. So for example, something as simple as a plus b whole square, and you have to expand the formula. And let's say you're going wrong at a particular point again and again, right? So in such instances, we can develop strategies. Maybe you make a jingle to remember, the sequence of things. Maybe you make a song to remember certain things there. So it's about finding patterns to ensure we can develop strategies to combat these pattern errors. Now, here are some of the questions you can ask yourself to identify such patterns, right? Did I study enough, or did I just study or did I study from the right sources, right? So did you study from your textbook, from the notes you made in school, in your tuitions, in your classrooms, or did you just get some information off the internet? So is the source you have gotten accurate? Did the experience of the exam anxiety symptoms, such as mental blocks or panic or inability to concentrate, did that in itself hinder your performance? So basically, more than the performance in terms of you knowing the subject itself, did the concept of this stress in itself hinder your performance, right? So you can think back when you sat in the examination hall, or when you were preparing for that exam previously. What were the things which were stressing you out so much that it hindered your performance? Was it the subject and the preparation of the subject itself, or was it your mental status during the preparation? Did I make careless errors, like not following the directions or noticing tricky wordings? Now, I think all of your teachers and your parents would have given you this advice. Read the headings very carefully. Read the question very carefully, underline the important words, or if a question is tricky and has been twisted, try to understand negatives, double negatives, positives, double positives, and things like that, right? So it's like he says, she says, he says sort of questions where there's trickiness involved. So did you not take time to read such a question in detail, and hence you missed that important detail? Did your answer lack content or skill, especially test writing skills, such as irrelevant information? Now, I've heard a lot of students come to me and say, ma'am, when I was summarizing, when I was revising at home, when I was verbally telling all of the answers to my parents when they were asking questions, I was able to tell all the answers. But when I went and I tried to write the answers, I was not remembering much. I didn't have a lot of content. I felt it was not enough. Now, this is because many times what happens when we are talking, there are a lot of fillers that we use. Our mind uses a lot of unnecessary fillers. When we're talking, it's not so evident because it just goes off in language. But when we try to write it, that's when the mind removes all of the fillers and we are left with only the content. And that's when we realize we don't have enough. So if you're facing this problem that I was able to talk about it, but now I'm not able to write it, you can probably look at writing as practice so that you are used to removing fillers and you know exactly how much content you have left. Now, taking you ahead to the next step in our managing exam anxiety, be informed about the exam. Now let's look at what are the parameters we are seeing when it comes to being informed about the exam itself. Now, basically, the more you know about the format, the emphasis on the topics which are required. Now, I'm sure your teachers will be telling you, pay attention to this subject, pay attention to this question, because this is going to come for your boards and things like that. So Ensure that you are aware of the emphasis patterns, right? So the more you're familiar with these sort of patterns, the better. That's the reason you have pre-boards, not one, not two, but 3 to 4 pre-board exams happen, so that you get used to the board exam patterns, right? So some of the questions you can ask yourself at this point of time also is, what is the format of the exam? So familiarize yourself with what are the sort of questions coming, what are the sort of marks allotted, so that way you know how much time you need to dedicate for that. How long is it? How much time will I have to write? So 3 hour exams. Now 3 hour exams, typically sometimes what they say in many exams, they say if it is a split paper like mathematics, where there's geometry and algebra, and they give 1.5 hour, 1.5 hours. So understand how your timing functions for your exam. Is it that in the last, let's say in the last half an hour, they will not give you additional sheets, or they will not give you the tags to tie in the end? So ensure that you have understood the time specifications of the exam. What topics have been emphasized in the lectures? So basically, when your teachers have been teaching you in class, ensure that you pay attention to the topics they tell. Listen to this, because this is going to come for the board exam, because your teachers would have seen collection of years together of papers, and then they would have come up with this data. Are any practice exams available? Now, other than your pre-board exams, see if you can access in your school libraries the previous year question papers, the previous year board exam papers, the previous exam pre-board papers and things like that, and see if you have practice material. So after you finish studying and your revision, try to sit and solve these papers so you get a hang of going ahead in the pure examination module. Now, from there, I'll take you to the next one, which is developing a study plan. Now, let us look at a small way, an easy way to do this. Now, basically, planning a study schedule 2 to 3 weeks before an exam will allow you to avoid cramming. So, this is not to tell you start studying 2 to 3 weeks before. This is to tell 2 to 3 weeks to the exam, you have your timetable perfectly set as to what are your waking up times, what subjects you're revising that day, what question papers you're solving that day, what are your break times and things like that, right? So because if we don't set accurate time measurements for everything, then we are setting ourselves up for failure, right? If some topic requires 2 hours of study and you've given yourself only 1 hour, you are obviously going to face a challenge, and that will demotivate you further. And you will start telling yourself, see, this exam is so difficult. See, the subject is so difficult. I'm not cut out for this. So all of these sort of patterns start, right? So prepare a list of all the topics in your exam. Look at the course outline, make an index page almost for your exam. Look at all the topics that are going to be coming, what all you need to cover. Distribute time for chapters and topics. Again, allow for good enough time for difficult chapters, and allow yourself that grace period. You may think you'll finish something in 2 hours. Maybe it'll take more than 2 hours. So give yourself that sort of a time management. That's why we're saying start a schedule much, much early. Right now, let's say you're just going to start studying and the exams at least are a month or 2 months away, and you're just going to start studying. Give yourself sufficient time. I used to make this mistake a lot. I used to plan my entire day. There are 10 chapters. I'm going to dedicate 1 hour per chapter. That's 10 hours and then 2 hours of revision. I would plan my time to the last minute. But reality would be very different. It would take me more than 1 hour to finish that particular topic. So then it bleeds into the next hour, and then I start getting frustrated. I've not completed chapters. There's so many things happening. So ensure you start early, and ensure you're giving yourself good enough amounts of time for yourself. Make portions for breaks as well. So make a list of topics for each day. Check off the topics you have finished. And as I said, realistic time setting is the key. No point in reaching very high and then not being able to check off from your list and getting frustrated that not even one box is ticked. So give yourself realistic time so that you're able to meet your own goals, right? Now, I know I have spoken continuously for a while, so let's take a quick, breather at this point of time. So we will just send a link in the chat box again. Let's have a small myth or reality understanding here so that, it's not just talking all the time. So let's have a small brain break right now. So there's a link in your chat box. If you just press on that link, you will be taken to another page where you can give your opinion, myth or reality. Again, this is anonymous, so don't worry about being right or wrong. Right, so let's see how we can go ahead with this. So here we have the first question and the answers. Test questions are written to test how well you know the subject. Reality is winning, and I think it is accurate. So Samriddhi, what is your take on this? What do you think? Is this a myth? Is this a reality?
I think it is a reality. I will side with my participants today. Questions are written to test how well you know the subject, and that is basically it. And I believe that our scores are not necessarily a reflection of how well we know it. It's actually how well we could recall that information on that particular day. So that is also something that I believe in. Okay, let's move on to the next question. The first question is always a trick question. What do you think, a myth or a reality? Okay, clearly myth is winning.
So a lot of members are saying it's a myth.
Yeah, but we also have some who believe that it might be a reality. Okay. I think I would again side with my participants today. And I do believe that the first question is generally set in a way which actually reassures the students that, the exam won't be that tough. What do you think, Sharanya?
Absolutely. I think that's why we have the shortest questions in the beginning, the fill in the blanks or multiple choice or short answers.
Right.
I think it gives that small boost of confidence, that, okay, I can do this.
Exactly. Okay, let's move on. Everyone remembers us with our scores. Myth or reality? Okay. All right. Okay. So let me ask this question to you, Sharanya. How much did you score in biology 10th standard? No, let me make it a little more dicey for you. 8th standard biology. How much did you score?
I really don't remember, Samriddhi. I don't recall, honestly speaking, because I think I'm sure my math scores were less.
Okay.
But that's about as much as I remember.
Right.
I don't really remember beyond that.
Do you think your parents might remember what you scored in your 8th or 9th in biology, or your friends?
In fact, I have a small, example at this. I met one of my school batchmates, I would say, not a friend, a classmate recently out of nowhere in a public space, and she recognized me and she's like, hey, remember we were going? And I was like, hi. And she was like, in fact, she said this, she was like, of all the people in the class, you and another person, my best friend, they were like, we always knew you would do something very different other than the set course of path, either engineering or medical, which was there in our time, like that. And that's all they remember. They see what we're doing now. My friend's a chef, so
Okay.
and I became a psychologist, and they're like, we always knew you guys were so creative, and we always thought you'll do something different. So they
Right.
remembered that, because if they were to remember my marks, honestly, I should have been a failure today.
That's what. So I think we will side with myth for this one, because even though at this point in time it might feel that everybody would remember us only with the marks that we score, that is not the case. A lot of times, it's very obvious given the example that Sharanya shared, that Our peers also won't remember our marks. They will recall the qualities that we showed, the kind of nature that we had, while interacting with them, the kindness that we showed towards them, or probably the meanness that we showed towards them from time to time. And that is what mostly stays with the people, and not how much we scored in a particular score. Marks are actually really individualistically important to only the people who are getting that score or who are performing on that exam. Let's move on to the next question. Tests are designed in a way that you are not able to clear them. Do you think it's a myth or a reality? All right. So I think our participants have actually got this one. And I, for one, am siding with them. Sharanya, what about you?
Absolutely. I do side with our audiences today. So all our participants are getting this right. We do have quite a bit of an informed audience if you were to ask me.
Yes. Tests are designed so that most students will have time to answer every question. As you said, our participants are pretty perceptive. They they are siding with reality, and I am siding with them. Great. Moving on, or are we still getting the votes? Okay. All right. So this was fun, and thank you so much for participating in the poll. And this really helps. Some of our participants were actually answering in the chat box. So all right, point taken. Great. So now that we've covered what to do before exams, let's try and see what we can do during our exams to combat this anxiety. So when we talk about during our exams, the first part that comes into play is preparing in advance. And when we are talking about preparation, it is not just the subjects, but it is what we eat, how we sleep, are we reaching the location on time? Where are we sitting? All of that can actually contribute in the level of anxiety that can be triggered during the exam. So it is very important for us to be eating moderate and healthy meals. Try and avoid junk food. Try and avoid the habit of stress eating or eating packaged foods during your exam time, because it tends to slow down the processing of your brain. Avoid caffeine and other stimulants. We have been hearing a lot of times that take a cup of coffee and keep you awake for a long time, and you might concentrate better, but that is not the case. Caffeine actually slows down your brain processing, and a large amount of it tends to slow down the pace at which you can actually process the information and revise and retain that information. Arrive at the exam location early. Be sure that you are punctual. Ensure that whatever means of transport that you are going to use is in place. Your cabs or your school buses are on time, and ensure that you can reach your school or your center on time. Choose a seat that is comfortable and away from distraction. And now we know that it is not always possible because you're seated your roll number wise. But if you by chance you find yourself seated in a place which is closer to a window, which might lead to a lot of distractions, or to an open door, or it is a seat which has less lighting, you can always request your teacher or supervisors in the classroom to shift you to a better position or a better seat. That can really help you. All right, let's move ahead and see the next step, which is practicing certain relaxation techniques. So it is very important for us to be relaxed during the examination also, so that we can put our best foot forward. So, and as an advice, try and pick up something which is relaxing an hour before the exam. A lot of us here may have the habit to actually look at the notes before we enter the examination hall. एक last बार book खोल के देख लेते हैं क्या 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 पढ़ना है, and you know it'll be just there in our mind when the exam starts. So but that what actually that does is it is triggering that anxiety, it is making us uneasy, it is making us restless, and we just want to have the question paper in hand and just start looking at the questions that whatever we have learned, whether it has appeared in the question paper or not. Avoid interactions with the classmates that could upset your composure. Now all of us have that one classmate who has done everything, who has not left even a single line in the book and is in the know of it. And speaking to them would just, upset your composure. You are confident in whatever you studied. Please remain confident in that. Don't interact with that classmate just before the exam. It is a good idea to interact with them once the exam is over. You can pick their brains, you can talk to them and probably learn more strategies, but not in that point in time. If you feel that your anxiety is increasing, you can use certain methods of relaxation or visualization, such as deep breathing or guided imagery. Through this, moving ahead in this discussion, we will be taking you through some of the visualization activities that you can be using in that point in time. Also, remember the merit of the process. Remember what you are learning from the whole thing. I know score is important, but what is it that you've learned about yourself while preparing? You've learned how to manage your time. You've learned how to perform under pressure. You've learned that even under pressure, even under stress, you can give your best, and appreciate that learning. You are learning a lot about yourself during that time. And of course, one thing that really helps you deal with that anxiety is reminding yourself of your past successes. You have achieved better marks in the past. You have done very well in the past in your certain other subject, in your certain other competitions that you've appeared. Remember that, acknowledge that success, and that will motivate you and ensure you that this is going to be a good one. All is going to be well, right? Let's move on to the next part, that is first impressions. Now, when we talk about first impressions, we are talking about the things that you do as soon as you sit for your exam. So the first and foremost thing is reading the instructions very clearly, review the entire paper, go through each and every question so that you have an idea as to what each question is asking you for. Look at the language that they're using and try and comprehend what is the information that is required so that you can save on the time by, at times we tend to supply more information and tend to lose out the time to answer different questions. So you will ensure doing this will ensure that you don't make that mistake. Organize your time efficiently. See to it that what questions need to be answered first. What are the major portions that you would want to address first? Pace yourself in the way. Remember to hydrate. Take little breaks. Keep sipping on water. Stretch your fingers because writing can be a task. And of course, tackle questions appropriately. If you want to go ahead with essay type questions first and then short answers and then MCQs, according to your pace at which you are able to write and perform, set your pace and therefore tackle these questions appropriately. Deal with the fears efficiently. Now, the fear of not being able to complete the entire question paper, it is okay. If you feel that you won't be able to attempt all the questions, look at the questions that will fetch you the most marks. Try and attempting those questions at least, so that you will ensure that you are getting the marks that you wished for and hoped for. Then of course, we may have a fear of not being able to revise and recheck our answers. That's also fine. Look at revising only if you have the time to. Keep rechecking your steps if you're doing a physics problem, keep it the last moment. Also, specific techniques that you can be using within the Sharane, forward from this slide. Right. So, So the specific techniques that we were talking about could be focusing on inanimate or calming object while you sit on your desk. So it's something like a pen, something like a watch that you've kept to keep time is something that you can be taking your attention to, so that it can center you and ground you in that moment. You can say a positive mantra or an affirmation to yourself help me and me going. If this is something that can help you also, you can use it. Or a positive affirmation that really pushes you is something that you can use. As we said, keep yourself hydrated, keep sipping on small sips of water. You can wear something that comforts you. A lot of us have a talisman that we wish to carry in our important exams. It could be a pendant, it could be a ring that somebody special has given us, which acts as our lucky charm. So, if that talisman suits you, wear it, use it. And of course, tactile distractions like touching the table or touching your nail or a piece of your cloth at times can act as a soothing mechanism for you. All of this can actually help you calm your nerves during your exam and make you more centered and more focused while attempting the question paper. Moving forward, we have certain strategies that can be really helpful for you to do after exams. Sharanya, can you take this ahead?
Absolutely, Samriddhi. Thank you so much for explaining this. So now we have seen what we are doing before the exams, what we can do during the exams while sitting in the examination hall. Now let us look at some of the things that we can do after the exams, right? Once we come out of the exam. Now, this becomes a learning for the next step, right? So for the next exam. So let's see what some of those things are. Indulge in pleasurable activities. Now, for example, you finished an exam, right? And that's a difficult task. It's not easy to sit for 3 hours and write something from your memory, right? So you would have taxed yourself a little bit. So once you come back home from your exam, rather than just pouncing on the next subject immediately, take about half an hour to 45 minutes of a break, eat something healthy, just relax yourself and de-stress and decompress your mind from everything that you have studied for this particular exam. Then you move ahead and you learn from the experience. Now, for example, if you cannot do this immediately after the exam, this can be done once you finish the portion of examination, just not the subject, right? So once you're done with your entire examinations, you're giving yourself some time, you're decompressing from the whole experience of the exams, and then you're learning from the experience. So what happened in the in the exam hall? Maybe one day you reached a little late and that's why it flustered you. Maybe you drank a lot of water and you had to use the restroom in between your exams and thereby it ate your time. Maybe you got distracted seeing somebody else asking doubts to the teacher or somebody else's problem. So learn from the experience of the previous exam. Reward yourself. You have done good. You have put in your best efforts. You have put in your 100%. Now, your 100% doesn't necessarily mean 100% in the examination, but you have tried. You have given your best. So reward yourself for that so that you can maintain your motivation to go ahead and push yourself further in the coming exams as well. And thereby you don't just give up after one particular exam, right? So keep pushing yourself, keep rewarding yourself, and keep acknowledging the facts that you have given your 100%. Acknowledge the effort you've put in and acknowledge all of your good work that has gone into this examination. Now, taking you further, here are some quick hacks, quick tips I can say that you can do for anxiety management when it is happening at that moment. Now here, audience, we have a few thoughts, right? Negative thoughts are very common for all of us, especially during stressful situations. So participants, we have identified a couple of these here. So I'm just going to go ahead and read out the first one, and we'll see how we can work together and reframe that into a positive thought. And then I'm going to request Amriti to take us through the second one, and we'll see how we can reframe that as well. And then audience and participants, I request you to help us reframe these negative thoughts into positive ones, right? So you can pick and choose which one you want, and you can try reframing it into positive thoughts. Don't worry, no right or wrong answers again, right? So in the first one, if I do not pass this test, I'm a failure. So probably I can reframe this into saying I can use this as a learning experience to see where I fell short. We always have a next time. We always have preparation points where we can catch ourselves, right? So failing an exam, failing a test does not make us a failure, right? So we can reframe it to a learning perspective. Now, Samriddhi, would you please take us through another example, and then we can ask our participants to help us out in reframing the rest of it.
Okay, so let me take the second one then. There's an impossible amount of information for me to learn, and I suppose this is another one of the most common thoughts that a lot of us encounter while preparing for an exam. So, if I have to change this into a more positive one, probably I could reword it as let me look at the strategies that can help me cover as much syllabus as efficiently possible. Or probably let me look at the high priority questions first and then see what else is left. So I think that is how I will reword these thoughts. Can we request our audience to at least try picking up one thought and going with it, changing it into a more positively worded thought? Again, the same rules apply. Either unmute yourself and talk to us or populate our chat box. Okay, so we already have a response. Harsh says, the third one, I will never be prepared enough. I will write and come off what I prepared for the exam. Is it for I will forget everything or I will never be prepared enough, Harsh? I think I will forget everything is what he's replaced, and that's wonderfully done. I will write and come of what I've prepared for the exam. Great going. Can we have some other responses? I know this will take some bit of reflection because rewording a negative thought takes a little time. So you guys can pick up any of the thoughts that are on screen and can try and rewording them. Sharanya, are you typing along?
So we had one of the participants kind of just request, a little guidance on what to do here. So I was just replying to them.
Right. Okay, so
We
I
have
think
one.
Nidhi has tried to answer for I will make silly mistakes. I will be more careful while giving my answers, is her reply. And Nidhi, that's wonderfully reworded. Thank you for that effort. Okay, Shrishti has tried to reword the same thought into mistakes are a part of the learning process. And that's a beautiful way to go about it, Shrishti. Thank you so much for coming forward with your response. All right. So, Sharanya, let's move ahead. I think our students here have gotten a hang of what this activity is and how they can actually use it in their day-to-day life as well. All right. So, is
Absolutely.
okay.
So thank you so much, Samriddhi, for that. And audience, I would just like to have your attention for probably another 10 minutes and we'll be done with the presentation. So I would just ask you to hold on for another 10 minutes. As of this slide, let us do a small activity here. So participants, if I can request all of you to just follow my voice, close your eyes, and just immerse yourself in this experience. So, if I can request all of you to just close your eyes, relax, keep your hands free, your feet relaxed, and just follow my voice. Close your eyes And take a deep breath in. As you breathe in, notice how the air fills your lungs, fills your stomach, and exhale all of it out, noticing the path it takes to come out. Imagine yourself standing on your favorite beach. This could be a beach you have visited, you want to visit, a beach of your dreams. Imagine yourself standing there, the sun warming your face gently, a beautiful breeze. Take a deep breath and smell the salts of the ocean carried across by the breeze. Listen to the seagulls over the ocean. As you're here standing, walk ahead gently on the beach. You can feel the sand beneath your feet crunching. Pay attention to the sensations of the sand beneath your feet. Pay attention to how the water laps your feet as you walk along the shore. Imagine as many details of the beach as you like. Now, as you're imagining yourself standing on this beach, imagine all the anxiousness, the worrisome thoughts leaving you far away, away from your beautiful beach. Take as much time as you need on the beach. Visit it as often as you need. Every time you're feeling a little overwhelmed, where you're feeling you're not able to get a hang of your senses, just visit this beautiful beach and relive this experience. Hold on to the senses of relaxation that you're gaining here. Hold on to the beautiful feeling beneath your feet, the beautiful warm breeze on your face, the air that you're breathing in. Hold on to it to center your senses. And when you feel ready, come back. Hold on to the relaxation that you had in the beach and use that to draw motivation to deal with the concerns ahead of you. Visit this beach as often as you want. Detail it as beautifully as you want. And take back in full strength all of the relaxations that you gained here. Take a deep breath and come back to us. Take a minute to center yourselves in the surrounding. Look around your room. Look within yourself and hold on to the relaxation you just gained. Having said that, let me take you forward.
I know it'll be tough to come back from that beach, right? Everybody loves the beach and wanting to come back so soon, right? All right, but since we are about to wrap this discussion up with you all, we will move ahead and let's talk about certain quick things that you can do to combat the hyper anxiety that we feel at times, uh, triggering and when we feel ourselves getting all warmed up and those palpitations setting in and our heartbeats are racing, we feel our cheeks reddening and our face warming up, what is it that we can do in that point in time? A simple and a very quick hack to deal with that is to use the cold water. Now, either it could be ice cold or very, very cold, right? Just place your hand in that water, or you can use an ice pack and work on your breathing. Focus on your breathing. Bring your attention to the breaths that you take in and you give out. Also, you can put a tissue that is dipped in cold water and place it on your face. That what it does is the cold water tends to calm down your nervous system activity and helps you center back and stay grounded in the moment. Right? It actually counteracts against the palpitations that one is feeling, or the increased heartbeats that we tend to feel when we get anxious about a particular thing. Now, another strategy to deal with that when that happens is to use the stop technique. Now, it is a very, very simple way. What you need to do is to stop at that point in time, close your eyes, visualize a huge stop sign, and just stop your thoughts from distracting. Now, you can use this by either verbalizing this out loudly, you can shout out stop to yourself, or else you can also use, you can use a rubber band and leave it against your skin, like snap it against your skin, and you will see that that point in time, that 1 second is all that you need to distract yourself from going into the spiral of negative thought that actually makes us anxious and triggers our anxiety time and again. So these are very, very quick hacks that you can be using either before the exam, before entering the examination hall, during the examination time, when we feel that, we might not know the answers to these things, or something is not correct, something is not happening. All of these thoughts can actually stop us from giving our best, and using these techniques can help you move ahead. Now, we have certain tips for our parents as well. We know that our parents are attending this discussion with us today, and we believe that parents are the most important support structures and stakeholders in a child's life. So, here are some of the things that, as parents, if we keep in mind, we can help our kids, our wards, deal with these kinds of anxiety, especially during the exam. Sharanya will be taking us forward with these tips.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Samriddhi. So, parents, quickly, I'm sure that you will be perfect in communicating a lot of the things we spoke of until now. Here are some of the things that we as parents can do for them in their journey, right? So, being aware about our child's study schedule and being there for them is one easiest way that we can help them. Other than that, modeling good behavior, which means that already the child is going through stress. And yes, we also as parents do go through stress when the child is going to attend for exams, but showing them our stress at that point of time is only going to add to their anxiety. So let us not show the stress we have towards the exam in front of them, and let us learn to deal with our stresses and our expectations before it lands up becoming a burden for our child. Keep in mind that parental anxiety when children go through exams is normal. So what you're going through is normal. It's okay for you to feel the same level of anxiety for the child. Because I remember my father, he used to sit waiting for me to come back from the exam, especially math exams, and he would ask, "What happened? Are you going to pass? Are you going to fail? How was the question paper?" So it's normal for you to have that level of anxiety, but be sure to manage it. Create a safe space. Now, I'm sure you have relatives, you have friends who you talk to when you are in certain spaces like this. I'm sure your child also has relatives or friends or cousins who they talk to when they're going through something. But during that time when they are studying and when the entire house is a little charged because of the exam, we can't always find a person who we can talk to. So, in such situations, having a safe space in the house, a room where you can go to and forget the world. It can be the kitchen, it can be the dining room, it can be your religious spaces, it could be anything. Make a safe space in your house where you know that over here the stress and anxiety can take a pause. If you are responsible for their food, now here we mean in case your child is staying with you and not in a hostel or something, or boarding schools, make sure they consume foods that are rich in nutrients. You will be getting a list of nutrient rich foods in the handout that we will be sending to you. Discuss rewards and incentives with your child. This will help motivate them. Examine your expectations from your child, because when we communicate to them, we often talk from this. So we need to examine the expectations we have, so that we again don't land up burdening the child with our expectations, at least not at that crucial minute. Be aware of the child's study schedules and be their accountability partner. So at this point, you're working as their partner, you're working as their coach, and not just a parent. So they have somebody to fall back to when they are feeling demotivated. Have an open conversation about responsibilities and respect their boundaries. If a child is saying, this is too overwhelming for me right now, I just need to take a break, let's respect that. Yes, the exam may be tomorrow. Yes, they may have a lot to, study, but if they need that break, it'll help them recharge. Then I think we need to respect that boundary and not push them even at that point, because I'm sure they know what their boundaries are. I'm sure they understand that the next day they have their exam. So um, it all boils down to us managing our stressors as well and being there for our child as well. Now, that brings us to the end of the presentation in terms of the content. So parents and students, our participants, whoever are here today, give us a minute so we can take you through the services. We have something waiting for you in store. All of you who attended here today, you will be getting a goodie. So just stay a little bit and you'll know what it is. Samriti, you're talking on mute.
Right. So we've come to an end of our discussion on anxiety management today. Let me just quickly wrap it up for all of you today. That what is it that we covered? We covered the preparation that we can do in advance of our exams, things that we can do to manage our anxiety during the exam. We also took you through certain quick hacks to combat anxiety, visualize guided imagery, and changing our negative self-talk into a more positive self-talk, and of course using the stop technique to stop ourselves from getting into that negative spiral of thought, and how as parents we can be our kids support system, and as kids how we can draw that support from our parents by simply letting them know what we need from them. Right now, although we have come to an end of our discussion today, but we do not want this to be a solitary engagement with you all. What we have to offer for you today is a well-being and success coaching session, one-on-one coaching session, which is of course complimentary for all the students who've been with us today, who've attended with the session with us today. And you can avail this session and book this session as a free session till the 12th of November. You get access to one-on-one counseling support and well-being and success coaching with with any of the counselors working at our organization. Of course, this is a safe space for you where whatever you discuss, whatever concerns that you have in your mind will remain confidential, and you can also get access to a lot of take home activities and brochures that can help you deal with whatever that is that you are dealing with currently, and whatever that you have in mind, you can talk to us by simply looking at going to the link that is peakmind.in/booking, and go to that link, book a session with us. We also have the registration link posted in the chat box for you. So for booking your one-to-one coaching session, you just have to follow the 3 simple steps. Go to the booking, select the date and time that you prefer, enter your details and complete the booking. On booking, you will receive a mail which has the Zoom link for you for that session. And at the same time, the coach that you have selected will also receive the same link, and you guys can connect for a 30-minute complimentary session discussing whatever it is that you want to speak to. And of course, it will be confidential. All the ethical principles will be followed. That is what we can definitely assure you of. In the chat box, you can see the link of the booking portal. Kindly go to it and check out the booking portal, book a session, talk to us, and talk to us at length about however we can be of help to you. We also have a program coming up for you all, and Sharanya can take us through that.
Absolutely. So, participants, we have this program called Emotional Empowerment and Academic Success. Now, let me reiterate this. This is completely complimentary, so you don't have to worry about that. Now, basically, this is a batch that is aimed at 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. There's a limited seating capacity, however, so it's going to be on a first come, first basis. Now, each batch will have 30 students. Now, what do we get in this batch and as part of this program? There will be 4 workshops just like this. So 4 training sessions for each batch. First session is going to happen as quickly as 1st November. So I would suggest you guys quickly go ahead and register in the link that has been given in the chat box. 4 well-being coaching sessions also will come along with that. So 2 for the teenagers and 2 for the parents of the teenagers as well. Peak Mind portal access. So we have a well-being portal which is completely dedicated to all the emotional needs that you may have. Has a lot of resources there, audiobooks, podcasts, blogs, and many more resources in our portal. So you will be getting access to this portal. Participation certificates, because we all know that these sort of certificates matter quite a lot. Assessments and reports post the completion of the batch. So again, I'd like to reiterate, this is complimentary. It's on a first come, first serve basis. And the first session, the first workshop is going to be happening as quickly as 1st November itself. So be sure to quickly register in the link given in the chat box. This is just an example of some of the topics that get covered for you to get an idea of what you're getting into. So for 9th grade students, you'll be getting topics like navigating teenage transitions. Now, this could be for parents as well. Cyberbullying, moving from impossible to I am possible, enhancing self-confidence, de-stressing. For 10th graders, we have things like moving from impossible to I am possible again, studying the best way, a strategic plan to ensure that they are using their best available resources, productivity hacks, and again, let's distress. Now, these sessions happen every Monday from 4 to 5, right? So this is complimentary again, 30 students per batch, first come, first serve basis, starting on 1st November. So having said that, these are some of the topics for 11th and 12th grade students: career discovery, avoiding negative thinking, productivity hacks again, high stakes exam, especially for 12th graders who are appearing for competitive exams, productivity hacks again there, and learning to play on their strengths. So parents, for 11th and 12th graders, it's going to be on Tuesday from 5 to 6. So I urge all of you to register in the link that has been given in the chat box so you can avail all of these free services. That brings us to the end of our session.
Yeah. I was just letting them know that we shared all the links with them in the chat box. The registration page link is also shared, and you can find all the details of the programs that we have for you installed on that page. You can also find a link to the booking portal. You can book a session with us, of course, free of cost, for all those who've attended our discussion today and have been such interactive and insightful audiences. Thank you so much for participating, and we really, really hope that whatever we've discussed with you guys today finds relevance to you and can really help you in your journey ahead. All the very best for the upcoming exams. I think hoping to see you soon as 1st November with the batches, right? So yes, and hoping to meet some of you in the one-on-one sessions as well.
Absolutely. All the best, everyone. Thank you so much for being such a patient audience.
Yeah, thank you, Saranya. Thank you, Samriti. It was a wonderful session. Very useful tips. I thought if these tips could have been like during our days, if we could have watched these tips, actually, it could have made a lot of difference. And I can understand that the exam anxiety is something which, if you can like manage properly, you will manage your exam results in the same manner. Like you'll find that the results will be very different. So very useful tips given by both of you. So I thank both of you to be there. I also thank Abhishek for the constant support he has been throughout all these webinars. And this is the fourth one. And thank you for extending that webinars for students, which are starting on Monday, and we have 11 and 12th on Tuesday. So thank you for that. And these links are there on the chat box. I've seen those links. So I request all the students, parents, and staff to share with other students as well, so that they also benefit from these sessions. So and this is the first time we have been able to connect with the parents, Samriddhi and Sarani. So it's a wonderful start what we had today. So I thank both of you, Abhishek and the Peak Mind team, for conducting this session. So with this, we can close the meeting. So take care. Goodbye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so
much
much
for having me.
Thank you so much.